So I'm Bas. I was an iOS developer, and right now I am a React Native developer, amongst other things. So today I'm going to tell you a little bit about um, how the transition from iOS to React Native was, and what I consider to be the disadvantages and advantages to React Native, or to switch from React Native from iOS. And next to a React Native developer, I'm also the co-founder of Florin, which is a payment app that allows you to split and request money from friends and strangers. And do it with my co-founder Andre, that I met in high school, and I've been coding with Andre, doing projects for as long as I can remember, or well, not as long, but since I was about 12 or 13 years. And the photo on the back is the entire team right now. This is our office. We're on the floor in B Amsterdam. If any of you wants to come and visit someday, you're very welcome. So before I'm going to tell you, what all the struggles were, what the advantages of React Native are, it's nice maybe to tell a little bit about what Florin was. So it started out as sort of this Bitcoin project of Andre and I, where we were thinking, or where we were looking at Bitcoin and blockchain, and we saw sort of this awesome currency that was sort of in theory really useful to use. And we figured, well, why not sort of build a nice app around it that allowed you to send money to any phone number out there once you hooked up your existing Bitcoin wallet from Coinbase or blockchain or whatever. And it was actually quite a nice app. A few Bitcoin Core developers and the founders of Coinbase, if any one of you is familiar in the Bitcoin scene, we're using it as well. But sort of our goal was not to build a popular Bitcoin app. Our goal was to build something that made transferring money much more easier than it is with sort of local your fiat currency. And to me and Andre, the current banking system is quite broken, and we were looking for a way to fix it. However, we had a few problems with this app, and one of the biggest was that it was hard to onboard users with Bitcoin. So whenever I sent Bitcoin to my mom or dad, they were like, well, what the hell? Where do I spend it? Isn't this illegal? Just please give me euros. Thing was that it was an iOS app, and we got the same responses for everyone with Android. They were like, well, how am I even going to use this if I have a wallet right now, but I can't access it really because I don't have your app. So Andre and I went ahead and built Florin 2.0, or a cross-platform Florin, as you might call it. And it worked on 3 platforms. It currently works on 3 platforms, that is iOS, Android, and web. So how it works is that we believe that sending and receiving money should be as easy as possible. Downloading the app is not really easy. So you have to claim your money or pay someone back through web as well. So we were thinking like, okay, well, this is sort of the vision. How are we going to execute it with only 2 of us? So me and Andre were like, of course, we don't really know Java. We're from the past. We're born in the 20th century and not before. So of course, we didn't know Java, and we did know some JavaScript. And when we were looking at sort of what we either could choose to learn Java, which in my opinion would be a sort of a bad investment, since it will be obsolete. And I could invest, or I could invest in React Native, and also an advantage that I initially thought quite useful, that it be much easier for me to maintain 2 different code bases and a web code base, which I mean, I would sort of have 1.5. So that to me sounds really appealing. And another thing that's sort of cool about it is that we have built an app that is basically built on one stack, as you could argue. It's all JavaScript. So our sort of philosophy was, well, we only need to hire really strong JavaScript engineers, and they can work on the backend and the front end whenever we see fit. So we wouldn't have to be really secure in allocating front and backend resources. And another thing, which sort of why I think why I was talking about sort of the 1.5 code base, that of course the philosophy of React is learn once and write anywhere. So once we built the app or sort of the website, we could I thought a component on the website, which will then make it easier to build and maintain. So doing that, I chose to build the app in React Native. Andre started working on the backend. And the first thing actually that I encountered was that I wanted to sort of start with a view, where I then would hook up some logic to. And the first thing that I was missing was interface builder. It's not everyone likes it, but I like it a lot. It's sort of this sort of framer out of code kind of interface where you drag and drop all your UI components, and you get instant visual feedback of what you're doing. That was really nice. You could make it responsive by just hooking up constraints, basically, which I was really used to, and it took me very little time to build any interface in Xcode. But then when I switched to React Native, I had to learn Flexbox, which is a different concept. So it took me the whole React paradigm is quite different from the iOS one as well. And it took me about a month before I considered myself productive in React Native, and especially in the first couple of weeks, I was like, well, with everything I was building in React Native, I was like, I could have done this within a minute in iOS. What the hell? But then I thought, oh well, I don't know Java, so I might as well just continue building. All right. So then the advantages, and those are actually quite fun to talk about. It's sort of from a product building angle, it's really effective to iterate on your product. So if you look at sort of what your product loop looks like, is you build something, you get feedback, you design a solution, you build it, you test it, and then you deploy it to your users, and then your users tell you something else that's wrong about it, or that I don't like about it, or stuff like that. And sort of that is the you are in to develop which team building products. So the nice thing about React Native is that you have this sort of application built by Microsoft that's called Code Push, where you can circumvent App Store updates both on iOS and Android, as long as you don't include any new native bridges. So that basically meant that for every time we found a bug, or we knew that something wasn't working, we could skip days on this feedback loop, which when you stretch it out to months or even a year, will make a huge difference in terms of the quality of your product. So a real life example of what happened last week is that we have sort of this support chat in Florin, and we have a gifted messenger for that as well. So awesome. And this guy was asking, well, like, do I need? Does the other person needs to download Florin in order to get me back? And sort of this is our key feature. And I had heard this feedback or this question from one other user as well, and I was like, all right, well, this is it. I want everyone to know when they download the app that they do not need anyone else to download Florin in order to send and receive money to them. They only need a phone number. That's it. So I think we got the question at 3:30, and then at 5 o'clock, I shipped sort of this one-time pop-up that told you, hey, I will translate for all the non-Dutch folks out there. Hey, not download Florin in order to request or send them money. So that's sort of how quick you can ship stuff with React Native. So the other thing that I talked about that I really like is that we have one stack. So we have Node on the backend, and no presentation at the moment. But I will just continue talking. We have one stack, Node on the backend. We have a web repository and an app repository, and something that I really like about this is that basically I've worked on the back end. Andre has worked on the front end. The only thing that I touched about our entire stack is sort of the database or Redis part. But everyone that is working on the development team right now has done server-side and app-side stuff. This makes us much more productive and just in general speeds up the development process as well. So about the code base, so we have a web repository and an app repository, and I just counted, or sort of not really counted, but I checked the number of lines that we have in our repositories, and that's less than 20,000 lines. That has all of the styling in code as well. You don't have that mostly in iOS, mostly not in iOS. And it's available on Android and iOS. And with only 2 developers, the 20,000 lines of code is really quite maintainable. So the other thing that I'm really excited about from building with React Native is all of the stuff that we built or have built in the app, we could quite easily port to web. Right here, you can see an app screen that we have and what we call the web claim, or where people can pay through. It's a Dutch app, but I will translate. So in the app, it sort of tells you with this font that there is about 100 euros asked from Andre, Bas and Koen, and there are some avatars in there, and you can see who hasn't paid and who has paid, and this is a list. And as you can see, the font is basically copied from the app. Those are both CSS styles. You have avatar components. Those are basically copied as well. And the list view mostly is also. And if we want to have more sort of native and menu and feel to our web repository, we could very easily use this open source repo called React Native Web that offers you to have activity indicators and stuff. So that's has been a huge help for us development. And so these were all the things these were all my assumptions, and they turned out to be true. So I'm really happy about that. But when I started learning React and I dive deeper into it, I have stumbled upon some advantages that I didn't really anticipate beforehand. And those are 2 things. One is the data storage thing. So as most of you know, in iOS you have this MVC model where the controller talks with a model and updates the controller. Oh, it's right here. And in Redux, in React, we started working with Redux right out of the box, and this was a mistake, but I'll come back later to that. But in React, you sort of have more of a everything is handled by state, and we work with the store. So the big difference is that when you do it correctly and you update the store from whatever container that you are in, you can assume already that in every other container that is connected to your store, your data is updated. And with the difference is that if you update a controller somewhere, you're another class or another view have very different data, sort of use data, just simply because it the two classes didn't really forgot to talk to each other, or in, and while it shouldn't be a problem, my experience being real and takes away a lot of the headspace that I had when I was building iOS stuff in terms of handling data. And one of the and I chose React, and one of the problems that I had initially with React, and I'm pretty sure for the people that have worked with Redux as well must sort of know this struggle, is that you have a lot of points in your app that represent data or do stuff with data, and that also means that in a lot of different places you can have a lot of different errors, and it can be quite hard to debug if you don't really know where the error is coming from. So you look at the view and you see that there's incorrect data, but you might not know whether or not that's from an API that sends you the wrong data, or you have reduced your data in sort of an incorrect manner. So that's something that it can be difficult. You start learning the React paradigm, but in the end, it's really helpful as well. And another thing, and I know when I talk to Android developers as well, that for Android developers, this is the reason to switch to React Native, since animations in React Native are quite nicely handled. But in iOS, but versus iOS, I really like them as well. And to give you an example, of course, you can have an entire talk about animations, but if you would design an animation in Objective-C, you would sort of have to create a new animation for every animation that you wanted to have, and you have to add them to a layer manually. So let's see, and I don't think you can read this, but this is sort of an add and a remove animation, and they share a lot of the same features. Sort of, they have the same easing and the same stuff like that. But because the one is an add animation and the other is a remove animation, you have quite some duplicate code in your code base, and the animations that you build aren't easily shared throughout your code base as well. While in React Native, and this is really cool, you have a thing called layout animation, where you just define sort of a create animation or a delete, and you can also specify an update animation. And once you, and the only thing you have to do is call this function. So this is a function that you can export. I call this for the state change that then does something with my UI. React Native automatically define or basically executes the animation for you. So let's say that I define what a create and a remove animation should look like. React Native will animate all of my components without me actually specifying that this component should animate at a certain point in time. I just change the state of my component, and that sometimes that sort of a button turns blue, and React Native will then be animated for you. So that's really cool. I think I have in my code base around 50 lines. It might be animation code, and we have an insane amount of animations in our app. So that's something that I think is really cool about React Native as well. Yeah, so this was basically my experience that I wanted to share with you guys, of me building React Native stuff coming from a sort of iOS. And to finish my talk, we are looking for a what we call product developer, experienced in React or React Native. If you are just a strong general, come talk to me. If you just want to download the app, that's also possible. It's but you can do that at florinapp.com. It works with Ideal. It's really easy. If you already use the app and you have feedback,